Hello, Harry Winstanley for Online Flute Lessons here. Today we're talking about the study number 7 in E-flat major from the Boehm 24 Caprices-etudes. Now this is a really elegant, charming study and works at a very particular type of articulation, somewhere between legato and staccato. We need to bring elements of both those things in. The sound it's probably most like is bell tones. But before we get to the articulation part of this, let's have a little think about sound, because another very important part of this study is all of these leaps. We've got octaves and above leaps, and we want to make sure that we approach this with a real sense of line. If we lose the sense of line, I think we lose the charm and elegance of this. As I've said many times before, when we're doing leaps and we want a sense of line, we need to make sure that we try and keep things in as few events as possible. What do I mean by that? I mean not taking every note as a little packet of energy, but rather Boehm, Boehm, as if bouncing a ball and letting it bounce back. Boehm. We're not going bom bom, but Boehm. Rather than should be able to give enough to that bottom note so that the top one just sails out. If you're having to go ha ha, then you're not giving enough energy to the bottom notes. The temptation is always to aim for the more difficult notes, which are usually the higher notes, and if you do that, we give it disproportionate weight. And obviously the lower notes are harder to come out, so we need to give ourselves a fighting chance here. Play those lower notes more and let the top notes come out. Don't push them out. That said, let's think back even before articulation how we might approach this. I would suggest practicing this legato and trying to get a very analog sort of signal rather than digital signal. Rather than boxy, we want analog lines, a sine wave. Ba-wa, ba-wa, ba-wa. You can try this just by doing octaves. I'm not going bam, 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 I'm going ba, like that. So I'm expanding through the bottom note to get to the top note, and as I go up to the top note, I let the pressure off and let a controlled fall happen back to the bottom note. Then I'm pushing the energy to go to the top note and going down like that. I'm not going bum, 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 but rather like this. Try and think of a sine wave. Obviously we can't slide between those notes, but in your head you've got to almost try and think that you can. Once you've been through the whole study like that, you really got those glued together, then we can start bringing the articulation in. Now with this articulation we want to make sure that we don't change the embouchure between the beautiful legato sound that we're making and any articulated sound that we're making. The temptation is to change the embouchure, to tighten up the embouchure. We will get really tight here. That won't help you. We need the sound to be absolutely beautiful, so try and keep, best practice, everything nice and open, breathing back there in the back of the throat, keeping everything R-shaped. We're not going. You'll really struggle to make the sound big there. And go between legato and staccato. So that we know that we're really matching those two things up. Next, as ever, the tonguing needs to be light and precise. The harder you tongue here, the less we're going to have this elegance and this charm. Really get the t, t, not the h, but the t, t, t. And try and make as gentle but as precise a contact as you can make. Tum, 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 tum. And let that line, let the air continue all the way through it. We don't really want to interrupt the air and let big pressure build up behind the tongue each time. Really letting the air continue. That gives us that sense of legato, and the articulation is just doing that. It's articulating those notes, but it's not making them staccato. It's not giving them a new character. We're leaving it in that legato character. There's a lot more that could be said about this study, but if you've got a particular question, why not drop me a line? Or if you'd like an online lesson, why not go to onlineflutelessons.co.uk and find out details there of how you can book that and get in touch with me. If you found this video useful, please do subscribe to the channel, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.